Hi, welcome and welcome back to Hair Diaries. So in today's video, I will be showing you guys how to feed in the boho strands of hair into your knotless braid. So for the first row, I don't put any curls in the back just so that it can avoid getting tangled by the nape of the hair. But if you do want to add curls to the first row, I would suggest doing it below their shoulder. So I always start by braiding the hair at least 1 to 2 inches down, and then I go in and I usually like to add in the pieces of hair from the right side. So here is where I will be adding in this piece. So for this piece, I'm laying it right here on this opening on the right side. And once I lay it there, I'm going to take it and pull it behind this strand. This strand is where I will be pulling it behind of. So I just take it, pull it behind a strand, and I pull it upwards so that I'm able to braid without it getting in the way. I'm just doing it again so you guys can see. So once the strand is in there, you're going to braid down a few times just so that it is securely in there. And you are also going to be tucking the person's natural hair and the boho hair as you braid. So now I'm taking the second strand, and instead of pulling it behind of the right strand, I'm going to just continue braiding as if I'm braiding the knotless regular. So I take it, I add it right here in this right opening, and then I just continue braiding. And once I braided it once, I'm going to take this strand and I'm going to pull it out so that it can come off on the left side. So do you guys see how taking them out on different sides allow for them to lay differently? The white arrow is laying on the left and the black arrow is laying on the right. So you can alternate between these two when adding in your boho strands. This is what I do when I'm adding in the boho strands. Usually the arrow on the right, I do that whenever I want the strands to lay in between the parts specifically. So I just continue this trend of just alternating between the two sides. And also it is important that whenever you add in these pieces, the excess pieces of boho hair, try to braid it in the braid as much as possible, because if you don't braid it in the braid, what may happen is that when you go and you cut the excess pieces that's there, the boho strand tends to fall out easily because the excess piece was not braided into the braid enough. So as you guys can see, this strand right here, instead of me just leaving it out, I'm just braiding it in as much as I possibly can. That will allow for your boho piece to be in the braid sturdy, so that when your client goes to detangle and pull it, it doesn't just come out easily. I find that some people boho pieces come out easily because we don't always necessarily braid in that extra piece in the braid as far as possible. So try your best to braid it in as far as possible, and whatever little piece you can't braid, of course you can just trim. So that's basically it. You just take and you add the pieces in. So let me show you guys how it looks. So this is how the hair lays. if you add it in from the left versus if you add it in from the right. You can choose to do a combination of both. That is my suggestion. So this is just me going in and looking at the braid. And right now I'm going to do a pull test just so that you guys can see that the boho piece is in securely. So I'm pulling on it and it's not coming out. So this is why it is important for you to braid in the excess piece as far in as possible, and then you go in and you trim these small little pieces. But like I said, just make sure you braid in the excess pieces as far down, and then whatever you can't braid in, of course, you take your scissors and you go and you trim it. So this is how it looks, and I just alternate between adding the pieces on the left and the right side. The curl that we used for these knotless braids are a looser curl. So for the rest of the video, you will just be seeing me continue when for the rest of the video, you'll just see me continuing adding pieces in just so that you can look and learn. And whatever you don't understand, I would suggest for you to just replay the video and also try it out yourself while watching the video. But yes, and I'll also like to add that whenever you are adding in the boho pieces, please make sure that it is a thin piece or a piece that matches the hair. For example, if your boho piece is bigger than the section you are adding it into, it will bulge out and it will be much harder for you to tuck the hair, and it will not be in the braid seamlessly. You do not want the braid to look like that. So take your time and add thin pieces or add pieces that match the section. So if you look at the amount of braiding hair I'm braiding with in the braid, the boho pieces are not bigger than the sections that I'm braiding. But that is all I have to say for adding in the boho pieces. I will show you guys towards the end of the video how I dip my boho braids whenever I'm doing it, so just stay tuned. This is how the braids look midway. So they're coming out good so far. She didn't want her hair that full, but like I said, add as much based off of what your client wants. If they want it really full, of course you need to be adding a lot more pieces, at least a minimum of 4 to 5 pieces on each braid. A minimum if they want their hair full. A minimum. And it also depends on the length. If they want their hair butt length, then you would have to add in at least a minimum of 8 pieces versus if they want their hair waist length or mid back. So when it comes to dipping the boho hair, I personally like to pull the pieces that are much further up out of the water, simply because I like for my clients to be able to leave and their hair isn't like totally dripping wet. And also I find that when I do this method, I'm able to see what other pieces needs to be trimmed. So I would pull it up as far as I can, and then I would go in with the hot water and dip the hair. I also like to take the hot rag and put it towards the top parts of the braids that's closer to the scalp that are unable to go into the hot water. And then I go in and I just trim the excess pieces. Then once I'm done, I take it down, I pull it through, I add mousse, my holding spray, and I just set the braids. But the curly pieces that got dipped towards the bottom, they will revert back to their natural curly state. So it's not a problem if you choose to dip the whole hair. But because we didn't put like so much curls, I wanted her to still have curls when she leaves that's not like wet, if you get what I'm saying. But this is the end of this video. I hope this video helped at least one person. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Ciao.